Whew,
Whoa.
what's
Wow,
going on?
I never heard that one before. Never
Yeah,
heard
that
that song.
that's an alternate mix.
Yeah, it's got a little extra from J Carp on this one.
Yeah,
Just hit a
he
hidden track.
Did you hear the trumpets?
No, oh, I gotta listen again. Can you play it again for me now?
I don't think your headphones are good enough. It's made in like beyond like 6.1 Dolby.
6.1. Oh, how
That's
you
that
doing, Tim?
4D audio. I'm good. I'm good.
Oh,
I'm just chilling, you know. I've been sick, so if you hear my voice, it's just because I had one of those colds that sneaked up on me, but I'm good. I've just been watching shit. How about you?
same man. I mean, not the cold part, knock on wood, but I'm working, I'm watching, I'm doing my best, living the best life we can, right?
Hell yeah, that was beautiful.
Thanks, man.
I think we should just end the episode there.
Yeah, thank you for tuning in all. Have a great rest of the night. Goodbye.
Tune in next time for the next motivational message. No, I'm really that's great. That's really great to hear.
Thanks, man. Yeah, just have you been watching, anything lately? Seen anything cool that you like?
I have because and I was bringing this up to Matt. We watch so much shit. Like we both follow each other on Letterboxd, and um, you're the only person I follow, and uh,
Thanks.
yeah, by choice. Um, and I always see like I love like I see your shit first. Like you're the only person I follow, so I always see like what you're watching before I go to my profile page. And uh, we both watch shit outside of the show. It's not like this is the only stuff that we watch. And my VOD viewing doesn't just start and end on this show. So I thought it'd be cool to like talk about just briefly like if there's anything recently like in the past week or so that you watched. Um, just to mention, because we can't do an episode on everything. So
Right.
I got two movies that I watched that I think are worth talking about. Um,
Yeah, me
you,
too. Too as well.
oh, perfect. Tubi.
Uh, yeah,
Uh,
let's dude. To be.
Tubi. I watched a movie called Alien Warfare. It's on Netflix. I'm sure that you've seen the thumbnail. It's a bunch of like Navy SEALs, and they're like storming into this building, and they find out that like everyone has disappeared except for one scientist, and they have to uncover. They don't know what it is, but turns out it's like an alien pod, and they don't know what it is. And then the aliens come down to Earth and try to retrieve that pod. So that's where the warfare ensues. I have to
Oh,
say, if you look up the reviews on Letterboxd, like everyone trashes this movie, but what it reminded me of was like an old like a modern day version of an old sci-fi TV show, or like sci-fi TV show, or like Star Trek, or like uh, Twilight
yeah.
Zone. It had that charm. Like the actors weren't that bad. The setting wasn't that bad. Special effects were pretty cool for what they were. Like it's definitely a micro budget like movie, but I thought that the idea was pretty cool, and the way the aliens looked was just like it was just kitschy enough for me to have a lot of fun. Like I could see that human hand on it. So if you ever get a chance, Alien Warfare is a
Very
pretty
cool.
fun movie. It's quick. It's like an hour and a half.
Okay, cool. I like the poster. I like what you said. It kind of harkens back to those cool sci-fi series and movies from maybe the 80s and 90s, even earlier. But
Oh, definitely.
um,
It's got those like one-off like classic lines that like appear in every action movie. Like it wasn't trying to be something it wasn't. I really feel like people who commented saying it wasn't good or they're not seeing what it knows it is, if you know what I'm saying.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, people watching it for maybe the wrong reasons, honestly.
Yeah.
I don't like when people honestly watch independent movies and expect something of like a theater, production value,
Yeah.
where it's like where it's like, oh, you could tell millions of dollars was put into just post alone on this movie. And it's
No,
like, no, dude, it was like not even a million total.
yeah, and
So I
this is
always like
definitely
that.
one of those type of movies. Like I totally agree. I mean, that's one of our reasons why we're doing this show is like to kind of like we both know that we're separating this from Hollywood films and like trying to see the good in it. So this is definitely one of those ones that are just it's just like all the reviews are expected, but if you can go in and just kind of enjoy it, it's a pretty fun time.
That's awesome. Yeah, shine a light on the indie movies. That's kind of what we're doing, I think, with this podcast. Talk about the craft, the craft that still goes into these movies. There's still a lot of hard work that I think it gets overlooked often.
Yeah, it got on Netflix, so
Yeah,
um,
exactly.
and
As of
I'll
recent.
keep the second one pretty brief because I have to admit I haven't finished watching it, but there's a movie I wanted to talk about that the poster alone was what made me want to watch this, and it's called Fire City: End of Days. It's a fantasy,
Dude, I've seen
gritty.
that poster. That poster's bad. I've seen
Dude,
that poster.
that poster is beautiful.
Yeah, it's got that like demon guy on it, right?
Yeah, it's got like a red, blue, and green demon looking character. All I can tell you is that this movie is not what the poster seems. The
Oh,
the makeup is amazing. The story is dark. It's gritty. It's like a really dark, upsetting movie.
wow.
And with a really like interesting fantasy approach. Like I have to say, there are some times where I don't know. Like the fantasy is like just high enough where I'm like, I don't know what's going on. But um,
I love it.
so
Dude, these
far,
screenshots are amazing from it.
so far, I'm like, I've got like 30 minutes left of the movie. Um, I'm really enjoying it. This was a real pleasant surprise. So maybe on the next episode I can tell you how it was in the end. But uh, if you've seen this poster, definitely just add it to like a watch list because I really really enjoyed it.
Hell yeah, dude. Is this on Tubi or where can I find this one?
To be my friend.
Oh, the best place. Look it up right now and add it to the watch list. Yeah, I've seen this poster before and I've been like, damn, that dude's got a freaking handgun. He looks like a devil. That looks cool. Like,
It's fun. It's
so
fun.
it's awesome, dude. Yeah, I'll definitely check that out, man.
How about you, man? What do you watched lately?
Yesterday, I watched, dude, wait for it. The Fanatic, the new one with John Travolta.
Oh shit.
Have you heard about that?
I haven't, but anything with John Travolta is going to be pretty entertaining.
Oh, I personally love John Travolta. I think he's a great actor. I think he's done some really awesome movies in the past, even present, and I'm sure in the future he's got some good movies coming out. Um, Honestly, I will tell you the straight up truth. I went into this movie pretty much only hearing negative stuff, like
Oh
really,
shit. This is the
really
movie.
negative.
This is the movie that Fred Durst directed.
Yes, it is. Fred Durst
Oh,
Biscuit directed this. It's currently on Amazon Prime. If you got the membership, you could watch it there. I'll just go out on a limb here and say I would recommend it. I would recommend checking it out. I was honestly pretty impressed and surprised by it. And again, I know everybody is like calling this like the worst movie of the year and this and that, and oh, it did horrible at the Cannes Festival, and John Travolta wasn't happy with the cut, so they recut the movie before it premiered there, or whatever the story was. But dude, it's an extremely intriguing idea because it's pretty straightforward. Where Travolta's playing a fan of an actor. He's pretty much a huge autograph collector. He's the guy that goes to all the signings of people he loves, and um, they kind of show you right off the bat that there might be something a little off about this guy. That maybe he's um, maybe not doesn't quite always get social cues, or maybe there's some kind of condition he has, right? And
yeah.
I just gotta say though, it's extremely bizarre. It's a weird movie because it's like a drama, but it's also kind of got this horror element to it. But then it also has a lot of like comedic moments in it. And so I I mean, it's an interesting ride front to back from where it starts and where it ends and how it ends. Um, and I can't say I hate it, you know, like I would never be like, no, that was garbage. Like, no, it kept me intrigued the whole time. I was every time John Travolta's on screen, I'm watching him, you know, like it was. And then Devon Sawa from Final Destination, you know, and Idle Hands, like really
Oh shit.
good actor. He plays Hunter Dunbar, the actor that John Travolta is like kind of obsessed with, and he kind of learns throughout the film that maybe your heroes aren't quite what they seem, right? Maybe they're not quite as nice as you'd hope when you meet them in person. And so it's extremely interesting, whether you like it or not. I found it to be an insanely um, just kind of unique film for 2019. You know, like I was really like kind of wasn't sure what to expect watching it, and by the time it was done, I was like, "Hey, man, you sold me. I was hooked the whole time. I was watching it. I was interested. I really liked John Travolta's performance. Honestly, it's some of the script is a little weird and kind of hit or miss with some of the dialogue, but I think all the actors did the best that they could and did make a memorable movie out of it. Honestly.
I am definitely gonna check this out. I heard about this. I forgot what it was called, but to know that it's on Amazon Prime right now, I'm definitely gonna check this out.
Yeah, let me know what you think. I'd love to hear your thoughts because it's definitely, you know, obviously being talked about, maybe not for all the right reasons, but I would revisit it down the line for sure. I would watch it again.
Nice.
Yeah. So yeah, The Fanatic, that was pretty interesting. And then the other one I wanted to quickly bring up is I'm way, way, way late to the party, but Slumber Party Massacre. I finally caught that, and that was a really cool kind of slasher film. I
Hmm.
believe Brink Stevens gets brought up quite a bit as one of the original scream queens from that movie, 1982. Um, and yeah, as I wrote on Letterboxd, I'm 37 years late to the party, but um, but it's also a really cool movie. A lot of great special effects, violence, you know, that sort of thing, um, and a cool ending for sure. So I'm definitely interested in checking out the sequel.
Yeah, I've seen this. I know it's like one of those like cult classic uh, horror movies. Um, it's hard for me to like be in the mood to want to watch the like where like the OG cult horror movies because sometimes they hit for me, sometimes they don't. But um, I have wanted to watch this. I know it's on Tubi, um, so I'll have to give this a shot.
Yeah, maybe some point, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah, awesome, dude. So, yeah, dude, you wanna jump into the last house?
yeah. Let's start with the last house. Um, so I just picked this as we know because Felissa Rose was billed as third build on the top of the poster, um, and I'm a big fan of her from Sleepaway Camp. And I've watched a couple of things that she's been in since then, but she's definitely made a name for herself still, and she's got. I mean, if you look at how many things right now she has in production, it's like pretty inspiring. Like she's really just doing so much still. Um,
Yes.
but I'm just gonna jump in and just say my one qualm for the movie because overall, I will say I enjoyed the hell out of this movie. It was so bizarre. It took me along the ride. Like I really did not know where this movie was going at all. Um,
Yes.
but my one qualm is that she's listed third on the poster and she's has a cameo role. And the main actress, I believe her name is Lauren Walsh, is not billed, and she's in the movie more than any character who's billed aside from maybe Ezra Ezra Buzzington. So I
Right.
thought that was a little bit misleading, but um, if I can just look past that, I will say what I thought this movie was going to be. Well, I guess it's sort of like a typical like torture movie, um, but it takes a weird like it's got that psychological serial killer, where the serial killer. By the way, Ezra Buzzington gives awesome monologues. Um,
Oh yeah.
you get the typical like serial killer monologues about how they think the world should be, and then you get someone escaping. But what I didn't expect was the uh, weird paranormal like ghost transcendence
Yeah,
thing.
there's the whole satanic ghost kind of, yeah, that whole vibe that kind of comes and goes.
Yeah, that took me for a nice loop. So that was a real pleasant surprise. How about you?
Yeah, I agree. I was definitely a little thrown off by how Felissa Rose was used in the film. I too was expecting her to sort of have like kind of like a lead role because of the way it was billed and stuff. But um, alas, it's still a fun little cameo part that she has.
Yeah,
And I gotta say the rest of the cast was pretty solid, man. Like I really like Jason. I always we like Jason Mewes, you and I.
yeah.
So I knew I was gonna like him. His character was interesting, and kind of his whole arc of what he's doing is pretty intriguing. And I also gotta say the way it's edited was pretty interesting too, because they did some flashback types of things with how the story kind of unfolds. Um, and with some digging, I found out this too was kind of a movie that may have been through a little bit, a little bit of a long run, I guess, in terms of getting distribution. Because I found out this film was originally called Breath of Hate, and if you've
Mm,
seen the film, you know that Hate is Ezra Buzzington's character.
yeah.
Um, so the film Breath of Hate was originally released in 2011, has a different cover with Jay Muse, Ezra, and Lauren Walsh on it. Came out in 2011, same director and everything. And so I'm pretty sure what ended up happening was the filmmakers or distributors wanted to change the name maybe to sell more copies or get more people interested in it. So in 2015, it was released as The Last House.
Mm.
Um, and so I found that to be really interesting because like it does show kind of the struggle, I guess, that a lot of independent filmmakers probably go through with getting their movie out there and getting watched by viewers and stuff is like, sometimes you do release a movie and by name alone, like people don't find it, or they don't see it. It doesn't come up on, Amazon or wherever it's streaming. I mean, I really don't know the specifics of this film, but I imagine
That's
that
a good
there
point
was,
though.
yeah, I mean, I imagine there was something, going on with the name that they were like, oh, we'll get more people watching this if we change the name.
Yeah, because think about it. If you're looking up the last house on the left, the last house is gonna come up. No one's looking.
Yes.
I don't really know like Breath of Hate is if that's gonna. I know that's actually a great title. It's actually
It
better
is.
than the last. I mean, I see the importance of the last house because Lauren Walsh's character um, is this is her last time doing this type of gig. Um,
Right.
and I actually liked that element too. Like, I liked the character's motives. I liked Jason Mewes' motive. I liked that there was a little bit of humor in there. And to your point about, I don't really know how Breath of Hate was edited, but I will say, I really enjoyed how they told this story where at first you're like, what am I, wait, how did she get there? And then everything pieces together. And I felt that was a really rewarding way to tell a very linear story.
Dude, yeah, it's kind it throws you for a loop, you know what I mean? You sort of expect some stuff and then it kind of like kind of twists it, kind of turns it, kind of presents everything in a different way once you're at the house. Um and it gets very awkward too. I'm sure you felt that.
Yeah.
As the scenes start to play out when Lauren Walsh's character goes to the house, Jason Mewes is basically searching for her. Um, and it's when you're introduced to Hate and his two other accomplices, um, it's very bizarre. There was good performances, obviously, by the three of them, but they were just really good at playing kind of creepy, mysterious, you know, I guess you'd say like predators almost in a way. Like, um,
Yeah.
but there obviously there's a backstory about why they're there, and it's better if you see the movie because you can kind of start piecing things together that way. But um, yeah, man, there was just some of those scenes are very long too, and so the subject matter of those scenes is very kind of uncomfortable, I would say. Um,
100%. I
but
I really like was not expecting like those type of scenes. I mean, with VOD movies, you definitely can get away with a little bit more, but there were some moments, and I think it helped build their characters even more. I think uncomfortable is the perfect word. Like they were just bizarre, and they definitely made them feel like fucking lunatics. So
yeah, and
well done.
uncomfortable isn't necessarily bad. Obviously, I wouldn't
No,
call it bad. It's just it gets under your skin. It kind of makes you like question uh, what characters you can trust or what's about to happen. And then when shit does hit the fan, it's pretty interesting, I would say.
yeah, there's definitely a rhyme and reason to everything. I mean, like, there are some bizarre moments, but there's certainly a real reason that they need to show this stuff. There's a reason why, you know, all of this stuff happens, and I think I don't think we should spoil it, but the payoff at the end is pretty great, and even like the last like stinger scene is pretty great too, um, if you know what I'm talking about.
Yes, definitely.
Uh,
Definitely.
I think visually, um, I think this movie lends itself to the setting. I think like finding that house was all they needed to make this movie, really. Like everything else, there was really not much there. But like I think that I when we watched Hideous, we talked about how when they went to like Romania and filmed in that castle, it brought
Right.
the production value up just because of the setting. And I think that this movie also kind of lends itself to that, where it's like you get a mansion like that, the possibilities are endless, and like
Yes,
more often than none, your scenes are going to look much better.
totally. I mean, I imagine this was shot in like a Hollywood mansion,
Yeah.
from the kind of vibe. And I am reading now it was estimated to have 300 grand behind it,
Okay.
uh, which, for independent film, that's a pretty solid, I'd say solid out, um, solid budget to kind of base your film off of, especially paying probably to shoot in a mansion like that. It can't be cheap.
Yeah, and I mean I'm just gonna assume like whoever made this movie, whether it's the director or someone else, um, they know people because there's a couple of cameos in this movie, from like well-known uh, personalities, let's say. Um, so I think like that also helps if you have that might help get a budget or it might help cut some costs and maybe some people did this for a favor, whatever. But um, overall, I mean, this movie definitely has some production value to it. It's even the special effects look pretty good.
Yeah, definitely. The special effects were pretty solid. That I gotta say real quick, the actor who played Kleb, Ricardo Gray, you remember Kleb in it?
Um,
He was one of the three trio Satanist kind of characters.
he's got something to do with like a melon, maybe.
He was the dinosaur guy. Do you remember that
Dinos.
shit when he's talking to the one girl and then uh they're in a room together and I'm sorry, I don't want to give shit away, but she starts to do her whole cheerleader thing and then she's like, "Are you gonna be like my varsity football player or whatever?" And then he's like, "I like dinosaurs," and he
Oh
starts
yeah,
doing that
yeah.
that whole thing. Like, dude, that guy creeped me out, honestly. He did a good job of playing this like kind of off the wall, you really are unsuspecting of what he's going to do next kind of character. um
Yeah,
and
that's where I
you
start
go,
to think like that's where I start like I start to feel like they needed to make those scenes as bizarre as possible because it just made it that much more of like this weird like what do these characters get into type of thing. So I totally agree with you. Like, there's his scenes are weird. There's one scene with a melon that is like so strange to
Yeah,
me.
yeah. No, when you brought that up, I was like, I don't know if I should say that, but yeah, the melons, that was pretty weird.
but I think like it's for psychopaths, you can start to do weird shit with them and have it be like entertaining to watch on screen.
Definitely. And honestly, when shit hits the fan, it all kind of starts to come together pretty quickly. I noticed when once the attacks, I guess, if you will, start happening. Not going to say which side is attacking which because there's a lot of good back and forth sort of with how the movie plays out about halfway through till the end. But there's a good amount of like, boom, this person got shanked or killed or whatever, and then it's like minutes later something big is already happening again, where someone else is going to die.
Yeah.
So I was really impressed by how they kind of build up the characters enough, they make you uncomfortable, and then they start hitting you with the gore and with all the kills and stuff, and I was like, that's a good way to pace it, because once you know the characters enough, then you can start to
Hmm.
really kind of the audience and their reactions to things.
That's a really good point. I think that's why like we felt so invested. Like I had no issue watching this movie. Like I was invested. I wanted to know what was going to happen. I think, I mean, Ezra Buzzington, every time he was on screen, you really could not look away. One quick thing I just noticed was the 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 synopsis for Breath of Hate and The Last House are slightly different. Um, Breath of Hate is one last job and love is out of erotic escort business. Unfortunately, that last final job is for a trio of escaped mental patients who are looking to change the world, one victim at a time. The Last House is after his girlfriend is kidnapped by a satanic trio of escaped mental patients. A young man must rescue her from a Hollywood home before their sadistic plans can be realized. So one of them for is just about um, love. It's like Breath of Hate is is all about love's perspective, and then The Last House is making Jason Mewes' character the main person who you're rooting for. So it's very interesting, and they don't mention The Last House doesn't mention the erotic escort business.
Yeah, that is very interesting. Yeah, after his girlfriend, yeah, exactly. They just jump into his girlfriend as opposed to he's a client beforehand.
Yeah, I would love to know. I'd love to watch Breath of Hate and see the differences, but I'd love to like know a bit more about like what prompted that. Like how did they hear about like what forced them to like change that?
Right. I mean, the the other thing too is the director Sean Cain. He's actually an editor too. It looks like more than a director. He's done like
Oh,
over 70 films as an editor.
wow.
So he's probably an editor first, and he's probably getting into writing and directing over the years. Doing different films and stuff. But he's definitely done some cool stuff. I'm looking at his the stuff he's directed, and he did Jurassic City, which I'm trying to remember if that was from. It's got Ray Wise in it, which is pretty cool. I'm trying to see though if he produced it. Yeah, I mean, it's cool though to see like when an indie filmmaker has like a lot of like high production valued indie films in their resume, and it's like, um, and he's not just an editor, he's a
Yeah.
producer, he's even acted, he's even directed, right? So I would also be very interested in seeing that because I liked this one, and I wonder what the reasons were for the change of name, for probably the change of film, and how it's edited and how it turns out. Because, I mean, did you see? Are they the same? Let me look here real quick if they're the same length or not. Um, Breath of Hate. Oh, okay. Breath of Hate doesn't look like it has a runtime on IMDb, but Last
Hmm.
House does.
I wonder
So,
if you can
I,
even see Breath of Hate. Like,
yeah, I'm wondering, like, or if they completely distributed or completely removed it, maybe from all services or whatever that they had it on.
yeah.
Let me see if we can find it anywhere. There's teasers online for it,
Oh,
and then
that's
there's video
cool.
production vlogs too. from the cast and stuff.
Yeah, it looks like
Oh, oh, Wild Eye put this out. So Wild Eye probably changed the name when they released it.
it says
Cool.
Breath of Hate. I'm on some site called Real Good. I've actually never been to it before, but it says where to watch it, and it's not streaming or available to rent or purchase. So it looks like maybe every place where it was, this is just speculation, every place that it was maybe was just replaced with like wherever Breath of Hate was, just got replaced with The Last House, perhaps.
Totally. Yeah, I think that's probably the case because yeah, Wild Eye, I know I've worked on some mixes that have gone through Wild Eye for like DVD and streaming releases, and I am aware that they will change artwork and names if they choose to, since they are
Hmm.
technically buying the rights usually, I think, from the
I
filmmaker.
think that's so cool about like, when you get into like VOD, Hollywood could never do that. I mean, look at what happened to Sonic, the movie that's coming out soon. Like
Right.
they had to it's like you can't just sneakily change a poster. It's this big deal. There's all these articles about it. They have to pull everything. I mean, you still have to pull everything in this, but there's a lot more leniency in like changing the artwork. Like if you go to The Last House on IMDb, there's two posters and there's one with two different fonts on it. And I think that's just and it's very interesting. Like and there's no other like unless it's like some like arty alternate poster like in Hollywood you can never have two posters that look exactly the same but just have two different fonts on it. So I
Right.
love that type of leniency because it lets things be how they should instead of it's kind of like video games nowadays. Every video game has patches that come out like months from the release and it changes the game. So on the back of a video game box, you really can't put anything because for all you know, a game's going to change completely like 100% since you got it. So I think that's so cool. Like I really
Yeah,
enjoy that leniency.
definitely. And going off that, I think a movie that you actually helped me with music on recently. Um, I believe when I brought it up to you was Los Angeles Shark Attack, and that film is actually going to get distributed by Wild Eye as well, the same company. And what I did find out the other day from the director was that they actually probably are changing the name of that film too. It's going to be Jaws of Los Angeles.
Oh,
And
nice.
so that means that means the artwork, like you said, the artwork's going to change. All that stuff is probably still going to stay online, but the film itself, when it comes out, will be under a different title than we originally um, had been told, right? So it's interesting. It's cool. It's also I could see some independent filmmakers getting upset about it though. If you're dead set on your vision, your name, everything that you've kind of planned out for it already, and then the distributor comes in and says, "Well, we're going to do new artwork. This is what it's going to look like," and then and sometimes when they do that, you're like the filmmaker, and you're like, "Well, that doesn't look anything like my monster in the movie. Now the cover has this monster on it that doesn't look like the monster in the film." So
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
which that's part of VOD, and I think that's part of the thrill and the intrigue of getting people to check out the films because you want to sell them on something really really
It's that
gnarly
poster
looking.
test.
The poster test.
Yeah, no, seriously.
Exactly, exactly. So
So, do you have a film for the next episode?
oh yeah, I'm glad you asked. I've been
I
reeling
want.
over a
I
few.
wasn't gonna ask. I was just gonna end this show once and for all.
It's gonna be the last one, the
The
seventh,
last house.
number 7.
Yeah.
So I picked something out here. This one's on Amazon. So if you guys got Amazon Prime memberships, you can check this one out for free. If not, you could rent it for a couple bucks on there. I know the DVD is also available too. It's out in Amazon or different stores sell it. I know Dark Delicacies in Burbank has copies of the DVD. It's called A Taste of Phobia. And this is an anthology horror film from 2018. It's about 90 minutes long. And I swear, it's got 14 different innovative
Whew.
directors. So I personally love anthologies. I think there's so much sort of room for creativity in them because you have so many different creative minds kind of clashing together and all putting in their 2 cents. And then once you put all those things together, it becomes, this cool feature film with all these different um, sort of styles and sort of different ways of telling stories. And you kind of get to see, how how innovative, that these horror filmmakers can get. So I'm very excited. There's a couple directors on here that I've met or known or worked with. One of them being Dustin Ferguson, which we're going to try to get him on the next episode to kind of talk to him about his movies and this film in particular that we're going to watch. Um, but I think it would be a really fun kind of movie because if you don't like every single short, there's going to be something that you'll like.
Yeah, that's the best part I think of these type of anthologies is like instead of a movie where if you're not feeling it from the beginning, there's a good chance you're not going to feel it till the end, or if you're not feeling it in the beginning, maybe you feel it in the end, or if you feel it in the beginning, you might not feel it at the end. But with these, you have 14 opportunities to be like, okay, that one I didn't really care for, but let's see what the next one is, and they go pretty quick. I mean, one of my favorite anthologies of all time is Creepshow,
Oh,
and
definitely.
there are even ones in that I don't really care for. So, and it's still one of my favorite movies. So, um, I'm all for this. I'm very excited. And I like the idea. It says each deranged segment magnifies a specific phobia and proves that people can be afraid of just about anything, including dreaming, bacteria, cooking, darkness, blood, medication, even young virgins.
Oof. Yeah, no, I'm excited. The cover is really cool too. It looks kind of creepy and wild, just from that cover.
Yeah.
You got this guy who's like, he looks like he's like shirtless and bald and he's covered in blood and cuts and he's got his hands kind of clenched out, almost like the System of a Down cover, and it looks like
The
he's just,
first album?
yeah, yeah, that first one with the hand,
Yeah.
it's like kind of clenched around. Uh, and
Shut
so,
up.
dude, that album's amazing, by the way.
Yeah, it is.
But I gotta say, really cool font on the cover of this movie as well, and then it just says at the top, 14 international directors push fear to the limit, and then you got the guy looks like he's just letting out a big old yell.
Sign me up. Good
Yeah,
choice.
no,
I'm so
thanks, man.
here. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. And like I said, we could try to get Dustin on to kind of do like an interview on the next episode. I think, that would be really cool if he was able to come on and kind of talk about his segment, plus also his other movies that he's working on, because I know he's a really busy guy, always making films. So
Yeah, that would be awesome to even just talk about his segment. So I'm definitely let's hope we can get him. I'm
yeah,
so
no,
down.
I'll reach out. I'll reach out and try to set something up and we can figure it out for sure. But yeah, I think this will be a good um kind of different, some variety because I don't think have we done a straight up anthology on here?
Not yet. Not yet.
Okay, so first time for everything.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, thanks, dude. And thanks for picking Last House. I thoroughly enjoyed it. As much as it left me uncomfortable, it was still a really cool movie, and I would definitely recommend it to indie horror fans out there. Just know that Felissa Rose is not the lead in it, but she
Yeah.
she is in the film though.
Yeah, I enjoyed it too. I was very uncomfortable, but uh, I had a really good time with it. And I really look forward to Tasteophobia. I'm hungry for some phobia.
I'm ready for a little taste, a little sample. You know?
Yeah.
But
All
yeah,
right.
dude, thanks again for having me.
Thank you. This was a blast as always.
Oh, definitely, man. And I look forward to this next episode, and I look forward to what you choose next. Whether it's horror, whether it's sci-fi, action, comedy, fantasy. I'm game for anything, and I think that's the best way to embrace independent film is just to watch it all.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I think there's so much out there. You'd literally drive yourself crazy if you tried to pick the perfect one. Just watch as much as you can. Um, but I can tell you for a fact, it's going to be a Christmas horror movie. So,
I'm up for it. I'm ready.
all
Ready. I need to watch more of those, so I'm good.
right, man. Thanks,
Yeah.
Matt. Thanks for
Thank you.
showing up.
Thank you, Tim. Thanks for letting me on. And yeah, we'll keep in touch and see you at the next episode.
Sounds good. Tasteophobia.
Woo.
All right, man.